Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far as the final CDL matches of the calendar year come to a close. OpTic Texas pretty happy with their development over the last couple of weeks, but Drazah though, not so convinced. He says, look, you beat the Ravens, that does not mean anything, simultaneously roasting the Ravens and saying, look OpTic, how about you wait until you play a serious team until you consider how good you might potentially be, especially when OpTic versus FaZe is actually coming up towards the end of January. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, I wanted to mention quickly on just to follow up to this whole live event situation for Scump and the guys, I don't think there's anything technically wrong with them going to the live events and streaming from there, but I think Zuma talked about it on stream yesterday as well. Just the way that monetization works on Twitch, the CPMs that these guys get for the ads that they can put on the stream, obviously the whole culture around subscribing and that type of stuff, and also any like partner deals, the amount of days and stuff they might have to stream for to make that happen on Twitch. When you go to an event, couple of extra travel days becomes more challenging. I guess for Scump and Zuma, it would be, you know, easier in some respects if they could do the watch parties on YouTube from their home base, I guess. And then, at least in Scump's case, then he could potentially go on stream on the other days or later in the day or earlier in the day on Twitch anyway. Whereas if he's at the venue, at the events, that becomes more challenging. So not sure if that's the reason behind this discussion or if there's other stuff going on. Maybe we'll see over the coming days and weeks, I suppose. This, by the way, if you guys didn't see Sunday's results, an absolute bloodbath. 3-0s across the board. Not the 3-0s that I necessarily expected. I thought Gorillas might well beat Thieves, but I didn't think that the last series would go as it eventually did. Of course, we talked about it last night. Was pretty funny as well that Adam actually said, of course, Toronto top guy back in July. When Priestahh went to Boston, he replied to that at the time and said, awesome, that means he's on a team that we can comfortably beat. The season starts, the first time they play, they get slapped 3-0. So pretty funny stuff. Lots for Toronto to think about as well. Bad series for Envoy for sure. Fair play for Scrap, I guess, being pretty respectful after the fact and saying, all right, fair play. They're a bunch of beasts, excited to play after the break. So, yeah, they had a bit of an off day, Toronto. But I thought Boston definitely played better than they had done so far. And what I like about this Boston team, compared to some other teams we'll discuss probably in this video and also later on today, is that the way their team is structured, at least there's a lot of veteran presence, Slasher and Priestahh, but Cap and Snoopy, very talented, but they also seem very willing to learn, right? They're a couple of players that I'm sure massively feed off what Slasher and Priestahh are talking about, and as they play more and more matches, they should just get better and better. So I think their team structure makes a fair bit of sense over there. Will I say that for sure that roster is going to be the same now as it is at the end of the season? I don't know, but I just feel like Boston have better like internal dynamics of their roster than some other teams that have been formed this offseason. Just the way that like they've put together good talent, but also I think they've thought about team composition and chemistry a little bit more than some of these other teams have. Maybe Thieves could be such an example. They got slammed 3-0 yesterday by Fame and the Los Angeles Gorillas. And as Fame says, not bad for a D-tier team, right? Because everyone was putting them at the bottom of the power rankings. Understandably, maybe, but they've shown out to be significantly better than that so far this season. And kind of the point I was making yesterday was this team was controversial because the coach Vioz puts them together, basically because it's guys that have teamed together and have played with him before, coaching them in challenges. And sure, in the long run, they might get, exposed a little bit, but at least for the time being, it makes a lot of sense. Guys with existing chemistry, played in challenges, know the coaching stuff. Probably makes more sense, let's be honest, than some of the other team building tactics we are seeing so far. So let's talk about some of the reaction from Dashy. There was some funny tweets as well coming out. GG to Surge and Ravens went 2-0 this weekend, improving every day as a team. So OpTic definitely taking some steps in the right direction. The series yesterday was dominant. It's one of those series that you used to see in like Major 4, Major 5 in previous seasons where there's just a trash team that everyone knows is bad and they're getting slammed by the top dogs. But it's kind of rare for that to happen at the start of a season. And sure, OpTic are always going to be good. We know their team is disgusting, but as Shotzzy says, GG's Carolina 1-3-0, AG thinks he's LeBron, and Dashy then says, he went to this Lakers game and now he's just straight up delusional. So we'll see how long that lasts. Dashy was also very complimentary of Capsidal as well. Twin could go out like that. So good to see those guys getting along. But also, Dashy respecting that Capsidal's a top quality player, lots of impact. And when Snoopy is on form, he's got to be one of the most impactful SMGs in the entire league. So excited to see how that Boston team progresses, but still, it's only their first victory, and let's be honest, they're still not guaranteed at all to make winners bracket at their home major. They're 1-3 right now, Boston. I think they played the Subliners in a couple of matches' time, so, can they beat another theoretical top 4 team? They might need to secure it, because if they lose to New York, that's 4 losses, and they have got 3-0'd a little bit in there as well, so it's not like their map count is spectacular, but of course they did get a nice 3-0 back yesterday against Toronto, so they'll probably, if Boston get to 3 wins, they'll probably be okay for winners, but it's still a little bit touch and go for them. Now, this is great fun as well, I thought. You guys remember from last time when they played Surge earlier in the weekends, when Kenny tweeted this out, I've got bomb, no way he can get there. And then Kenny and Dashy, this is when they both simultaneously peak after it was aBeZy, right, defuses the bomb. So this guy in the reply says, please check bomb every few seconds after planting, even if you think there's no possible way they could get there. I know this sounds obvious, but it should be an automatic thing from here on out. So I saw this tweet and I thought it's pretty funny. I don't understand what goes through some people's heads, replying like this. Obviously, the team know, right? I mean, what does he want? A spot? Does he want to get signed by OpTic instead of, fire Karma or whatever, get rid of JP, get this guy in? But Dashy obviously read this and quote tweeted it saying, can we get this guy the Supermax? And there was some pretty funny replies to this, right? Dashy says, some good intel we can tell to the boys. And then the boy himself comes back and says, glad I can help everyone. Tell the boys to keep it up. And, bring me in, coach. But yesterday, we obviously saw these improvements pay off against the Ravens. Now, Ravens are not a great team right now. They're one of the bottom teams in the league, no doubt. We're going to talk about potential roster changes required for them later on today, as with potentially many other teams as well. But it was still a good victory, and it was still a performance of a top-class team from OpTic, I think, to get that job done. They are a CDL team at the end of the day, the Ravens. So Prid then tweets out, the LeBron thing, and we talked about this yesterday. But obviously absolutely slam them, especially in the control. But Drazah has a rather different perspective. Of course, a player that could well have been an OpTic. He was going to go to OpTic. Well, maybe he was never going to go, but they wanted him. He had an offer, potentially. He turned that offer down. It went to FaZe. So it's always one of the big storylines, probably the big storyline of the season, theoretically, is OpTic versus FaZe, as it always is, but especially so because of the Drazah thing, the Kenny thing. We know how it is. But Drazah says, look, Pred, don't get ahead of yourself, buddy. You played the Ravens. So, look, Drazah's simultaneously not afraid at all to absolutely trash talk the Ravens on Twitter. I mean, he's talking about them like they're an amateur team, you know what I mean? But still, maybe he makes a fair point. Say, look, OpTic, don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't get complacent, boys. You played the Ravens. How about you play a real team? Then we can have a discussion. But of course, just a couple of days before they played Surge, who most people are considering to be a real team, a legitimate contender, and FaZe, sure, FaZe did go through and beat them the very next day, but again, that was even a little bit competitive, right, between FaZe and Surge. They did lose the search and destroy in that series. Possibly it could have gone game 5 at FaZe. Always feel like they had the edge in that one, but still, FaZe and OpTic on a similar trend so far. Yes, OpTic lost the first series they played game 5, but honestly, so could FaZe have, right? When they played Boston, that was very close to being a game 5 loss for FaZe in that particular series. So far, they're on a similar trends, and I think that just the way that the season is looking, OpTic versus FaZe feels like it should be the grand finals of at least a few events this season. We have 4 events plus champs this year. OpTic versus FaZe should be the finals of, you'd think at least 2 or 3 of them based on the way things are currently looking. There can be upsets. Toronto, of course, are very good. New York are very good. But I don't know if they're as good, to be honest, right now. Is what I've seen from OpTic and FaZe over the last couple of days. So Dashy says, there's no way you said this. And look, FaZe and even Cellium said afterwards on the breakdown that Surge are a legit team. They're going to be contenders for the majority of the season. So, OpTic did beat them the other day. But it's still kind of interesting, right? And Drazah's just playing down how good OpTic are. Because people are gassing up OpTic right now, and I think for good reason. But Drazah saying, look, don't get ahead of yourselves. We're still the top dogs. You just beat Ravens. It doesn't matter all that much. And of course, Clay was catching some flack, let's say, for their performance against OpTic yesterday. And, he says this guy, brain dead idiot, never played a comp sport because, look, Clay's going to get frustrated with his teammates when they make mistakes. Do they need changes? We'll talk about that later on today. We'll also say from Real, because there was lots to talk about this after the fact, how well they're performing. Real's in a tough spot, really, because he was doing pretty well from 120 ping from Spain or whatever. He's now, I think, in Canada, right? He's playing from the Toronto facility or something. I'm guessing visa-related problems getting into the States. So it's another just disaster class from the Ravens as an organization on the visa front. Why am I not surprised? But maybe there's other things going on for Real you don't really know, so wishing the best for him, because I think he's a talented player, but he's not really fitting in so far. And it's just one of these things that, sure, Brian Saint coached a couple of these guys, Rocker Academy, this type of stuff, but does that team really of Clay, Godorex, Gwyn and Real make much sense other than just talented players that you're putting together and hoping it works? There was also a bit of drama, as you might expect, after the fact between Los Angeles Thieves and the Gorillas. We saw it wasn't that long ago now when Enable came out and basically just cooked the team. And then this guy J-Mac says, at Zuma, Octane, Benjay, Nassim, yo, at Nature, what does Enable actually do behind us? And I'm pretty sure Nature actually liked this tweet as well, so I don't really know if there's much in that. But then Octane replied, you know, this guy never shuts up, like, I'm sorry, J type thing. So I don't know if Enable's actually going to respond to this, and look, it's only early days for Thieves versus Gorillas this season, but look, we know what's happened so far, and they got slammed 3-0 yesterday, so not ideal. Of course, Ultra as well had a bit of a bad time. Envoy couldn't buy one, he said, so I think they'll go into the off-season realising that there's a lot to think about. And it's the same way that OpTic, after they lost the first series to Subliners, they realised, okay, lot to learn, lots to improve on, lots of problems in Search and Destroy to iron out on. And I think for Ultra, this might be kind of an effective loss because they realise, okay, where their weaknesses lie, how to improve some things. And after OpTic lost that first series, they've been up and up since then. 3-1, 3-1, 3-0 in the last 3 matches they've played. And as Karma says, solid first split with constant improvement. So they're now looking pretty. They still play Rocker or Vegas, or they've already played Rocker. And still they play Vegas, right? But the final game OpTic play before the major is against Atlanta FaZe, and that is like going to be an absolute banger. This was the Breakdowns team of the week, by the way. MettalZ in there, absolutely justifiably so. DiamondCon, I thought, had a great week as well for Gorillas getting their first win. Okay, look, they only played one series, but I still think given the manner of the victory, it's probably fair enough. Kenny was very impactful again, but I think Dashy's been kind of screwed over here, right? Not big on this list. I mean, Dashy had like a 1.4 and a 1.8 this weekend. So you'd think maybe that would have been enough to get on the team of the week, but apparently not, of course. And just to mention this, so speaking of those games, this is the list of matches that the theoretical top 4 play against each other. So until yesterday, there'd never been a team so far this year, so far this season, that's beaten one of these 4 teams, OpTic, FaZe, Ultra, or the Subliners. Last night that happened for the first time with Boston taking down Ultra, but I still think that most events, it's going to be these 4 teams. On paper, I think other teams can get in the mix, but the 2 teams, FaZe and OpTic especially right now, that should be, there should be a fair few finals, I think, this season between these 2 squads, the way things are presently looking. So these are all the matches this season between them, online qualifiers. And the majors, of course, these are going to occur hopefully on a very regular basis. But these are all the online qualifiers. So it's the 19th of January, the next time we see 2 top 4 teams go head-to-head between Subliners and Ultra. And then right before the major on the Sunday, January 21st, so the major begins just a couple of days after that, that's OpTic FaZe. So that's the final match to close things out. This might be a battle at the time for like top seed, potentially. That could be on the line going into the major. So, buzzing for that one. Of course, they play throughout the season as well. There's only one other guaranteed OpTic versus FaZe match on Sunday, April the 14th. You guys can see the other ones from there. But OpTic play Ultra a good couple of times. I guess it's pretty evenly split across all the teams, isn't it? But FaZe do play Ultra 3 times here, it seems. So they can't get it perfect with the amount of online qualifiers. We know how it goes. But the reality is these online qualifiers don't mean as much as when they actually get to the major and play each other, because that is probably going to be happening. Speaking of the number 1 seed, the fight for it, these are the current point standings. Of course, we're only in Major 1 here, so these, the current Major 1 standings correlate to the season standings. But Heretics, given their current map win-loss, are the highest seeds. They currently have the number 1 seed in the league. They're 3-0 so far. Sure, they've played 3 matches that they probably all should have won. They've played, Vegas, Rocker, and Carolina. So they might have played the 3 worst teams in the league, theoretically. So we'll see what happens when they play a real team, I guess, maybe, as Drazah would put it. But I'm still very impressed with them so far. But we're going to have to, wait a little bit longer just to see how they're getting on when they play a top team. And maybe Drazah feels the same way about OpTic, but of course they did play the Surge the other day. FaZe are also 3-0, Subliners is also 3-0, but are more closely fought 3-0. Then it's OpTic, Ultra, Surge, and then, currently some usual suspects towards the bottom, but Breach are trying to make their way up, and it's actually a really interesting battle for trying to qualify for the winners bracket at Major 1. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.